failed something? That was a test.
Good.
You passed.
I was like, just sliding in my foot.
Before we begin, just a reminder, if everyone have their cell phone, can you please put it on silence? Additionally, at the end, we will take questions, a minimum of 2. Just a reminder, we will have, if anyone does have questions, to please line up here at the podium. Can you please cite where you're coming from, who you're representing, and then present your questions? We may begin.
All right, I think she meant a maximum of 2, just in case. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. We want to update the Operation Zion Foster case. I'll bring some highlights to you, and then we'll get into the investigation. I'll bring up Sergeant Jones, who has led this operation throughout its inception, who will be able to talk in greater detail about what happened. And then at the conclusion, I will come back and we can entertain any questions that you may have. In between that, we will hear from Patty Kakula of the Public Safety Foundation about all of those who have contributed to this operation. And we could not be more thankful for our supporters who gave us the help that we needed throughout this process. I do want to take a moment to allow everyone up here to introduce themselves because I think it's super important. These are the folks on the ground. These are the folks who literally spent their entire summer doing this important work and hoping to bring some closure for this family. And unfortunately, as we will be reporting, things didn't turn out quite the way that we wanted. But we'll be able to talk about going forward and next steps. So with that, I'd like to start from my left, your right. Sir, if you could just introduce yourself for the media.
Lieutenant Reginald Whitaker, Detroit Fire Department Hazmat Team.
Patty Kakula, Detroit Public Safety Foundation.
Brian Ballance, DTE Energy.
Cynthia Russell, Crime Control Strategies. Carrie Sloan, Deputy Chief Detective Bureau.
Michael McGinnis, Commander, Major Crimes.
Shannon Jones, Sergeant, Missing Persons.
Charles Fitzgerald, Assistant Chief, Office of Enforcement Operations.
Patrick Fox, paramedic, Richmond Lennox EMS.
Rachel Fox, EMT, Richmond Lennox EMS.
Marlena Mathis, Department of Public Works, Street Maintenance Division.
Dan DiBardino, Crime Stoppers of Michigan.
Daniel Ferguson of Moss Company, LLC.
Again, thank you all very much. Many hours went into this, donations, and just hours and hours of work. Sergeant Jones and the team, again, worked the entire summer, starting with what we deemed as our phase 1, which was May 31st, with the removal of 20 feet of material from the focus area. At that time, after removing the material and going through the material, searching for evidence, they moved to phase 2, which started June 15th. Sections of the search area were removed and placed in a 50 by 50 foot search deck, rake through for evidence, and literally rake through each piece of the debris that was there looking for evidence. Phase 3, October 3rd through October 9th, and this was the dismantling of the operation and the clearing of the debris using machines continuously searching for evidence. And then we concluded with phase 4, which is October 10th through 13th. That's just a high-level briefing. At this time, I'm going to bring up Sergeant Jones, who will talk to you in great detail about the actual search operation. Sergeant Jones.
Good afternoon. So from the beginning of this case, January 5th, Ms. Foster was reported missing by her mom at East Point. The next day on January 6th, the mother also made a report with the Detroit Police Department. We began investigating along with East Point And on January 19th, once it was determined, after interviewing Mr. Brazier, who is the cousin, that Ms. Foster had been placed in a dumpster, at that point, we began working to track that dumpster. On January 19th, we had contact with Waste Management, and we identified the dumpster. We tracked it through the GPS onto which truck and to which landfill, which ultimately led us to Pine Tree Acres. From that day is when we started the preparation to get all the equipment, supplies. This pictures here is going to show the initial staging and setup area, where we had approximately 50 people every day when we started on June 15th from the searching. May 31st was when we removed the first 20 feet. June 15th is when we actually started taking the debris from the lower levels that we had obtained and brought it to the search deck. We went into phase 3. I believe you discussed this already, and then into phase 4. You can skip. Next. So this kind of shows you the first phase where we just used the heavy equipment. And the area, the original lift area where the truck went is 321 feet by 200 feet. We selected a focus area of 100 by 100, which was identified by where the GPS of the truck took it, by which direction the trash was pushed, is where we came up with our 100 by 100. And this is kind of showing you in phase 1, the removal of that top levels that we knew it was material that we would not have to search through. This is another picture of the phase 1 area. This is where we had set up the tents, which is over by the search decks. So to get to that material, the excavator would take the material, place it into the dump truck. The dump truck would then convey it over to the search decks where we would have it spread out. We would have a loader there to kind of level it, and that's when our search teams would get up and manually go through all the debris with the rakes and try to identify or open any bags or containers that we came across. Every morning at 8 o'clock, the searchers would arrive. They have to be suited up. They were suited up in PPE gear. We made sure that they were all safe with shoes, respirators, the hazmat suits, gloves, and all that. This is a picture showing them on the search deck. So we had 2 different decks. Each deck would have about 15 to 20 searchers, depending on how many people were able to come out that day. And this is just them going through each piece of debris. Once they clear that, that deck gets cleared and pushed off, then the next truck comes in and it resets the deck and you start again. During phase 2, this is kind of showing you the different depths. So these are pictures from July and August. As we continued to dig down and we start identifying dates on mail, you identify dates that were possibly January 10th. We knew we still had to go deeper, so we would start to go deeper, and then you could kind of identify which way the trash was traveling as we went through those sections. We continued down through September, and this is kind of showing through October as we continued the phase 2, which was still bringing the material to the search deck area. From there, we began a phase 3. Phase 3, we did not bring the material to the search deck. We basically had our team at the hole, and we had the machine constantly pulling up debris, and as the debris was getting spread off to a side that we had already finished, kind of watching, and if we saw something that wasn't opened, they would go in. So right now they're about 40 feet down in that picture. The excavator is probably 15 feet from the main level. This is kind of a picture of the entire search area. We had selected 100 by 100. When we were done, we were probably at about 125 by 150, and we had reached depths of 45 to 50 feet, and in that area is where we consistently were identifying the different target dates, which was the December to the beginning of January, when we knew that she would have made it out there. On October 10th, well, the night of October 9th, we shut it down. We stopped searching. And at this point is when we began to clean up our area and remove all of our equipment. During the entire search, we searched over 7,500 tons of trash that was physically searched through. That's not including any of the trash that was removed and offloaded. This is a list of the different items that every searcher had to be prepared with, that we made sure that they had with them before we went up on the search decks. And I think from here, Commander McGinnis.
Thank you, Sergeant Jones. What Sergeant Jones didn't convey, and I would like to, is how physically strenuous this work was for these volunteers. They're dealing with the heat of the summer, wearing PPE equipment, raking through very heavy debris with odor, so I commend them. And personally, I'm just very proud to have been a part of the attempt to recover Zion. It goes without saying how sad it is a day for Zion's family that we were not successful in our attempt. However, that does not take away from the investigative work that's been done, was being done back here at our headquarters while this operation was going on at the landfill, to try to provide the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office with anything and everything they need when they evaluate this information. So, as you all know, the warrant request was submitted back in January, and it is currently under review by the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. We've met with them as recent as last week and discussed the updates on the case, and we continue to do some follow-up work at their request, as well as at the request of, or the direction of, the information coming in. We plan on meeting with them again in 2 weeks, and we are doing everything we can to provide them everything they need in making their charging decision. The suspect in this case is still in custody. He's in custody on charges that are not related to our investigation, and he will remain in custody for a minimum until December of 2023. So we feel very strongly with our case. We have the evidence we've gained from January to now just continues to support the information and the evidence that we already briefed on. Thank you. With that, Patty from the Public Safety Foundation will speak.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I'm Patty Kukula, and since Chief White asked the foundation and myself to assist with costs for this operation, we've worked tirelessly with so many partners, especially the Homicide Division and Sergeant Shannon Jones, and countless corporations in our community here in Macomb County as well. Also, Macomb County Executive Mark Hackle was there anytime I needed him to go on television to try and ask for donations as well. DPD Media was tremendous every time we needed help in letting people know where to donate, and a lot of the contributions came from all of that media, and we thank all of you for helping us get the word out for that. The response has been really amazing, and I think you can see here from the list of all of our donors. You know, the cash was $49,000, and that's a combination coming from our bank account as well as the DAC Foundation, and $7,000 in just random internet donations to our website. In-kind contributions, you can see the corporations that have donated their time, their effort, their resources. Salvation Army was just tremendous being out there every day. And, you know, look at the big numbers there. The hero, of course, is DTE with $310,000, and I really want to thank they always come through with all their equipment and their PPE and everything that we need. But you can see the whole list there with the Damo and Blaze Construction, AIS, MyCat, Myers, Moss. We'll hear from Mr. Ferguson in a minute. UC College, Little Caesars, Salvation Army, and the many departments in the city of Detroit, and the many officers that have helped us reach out to people as well. I do like to ask if I could now, Daniel Ferguson, who's a business person in the city of Detroit, who came forward and said, I want to help. Mr. Ferguson, would you come by? Introduce yourself and tell why you're here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Ferguson. I represent Moss Company, and we provided an excavator to help with the search. And over the years, we've provided numerous equipment and time and material with Motor City Makeover and other things over the years to help with searching for bodies and also help cleaning up the city. So anytime the city needs some help, my company, myself, my family, we'll step up to the table and be of service to the city anytime. You can always count on us. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really nice to have so many wonderful philanthropic people in our community, and I just want to thank all of those who are involved, and especially those who are moved to donate to try and help this family have some comfort in finding their daughter. Chief?
Thank you, Patty. And again, it goes without saying thank you to our homicide unit, all of those men and women who volunteered for this detail to spend their summer working at a literal dump site, digging in a hole of debris, as you saw, looking for this young lady to bring her home to her family. We made a decision that it was the right thing to do. We put every possible effort we could into doing so, and as Sergeant indicated, she's very humble and modest, but she drove this project, worked long hours, wanted more hours, stayed on duty for extensive hours in that hot suit and showing up at a dump site every single day for 6 months and making, for her efforts showing up the very next day. And I will be acknowledging each and every member of the team at a later date. But I could not be more proud of the men and women of the Detroit Police Department who continuously step up every single day for this community to do the right thing. And I am just so honored to even have the opportunity to lead people like this, people who give up their summers to look for someone's child who was savagely taken away from them without provocation. Just a very tragic and sad situation. And I ask that all of you keep Zion Foster's family in your prayers. These are tough times, and the investigation continues as the commander indicated. So with that, I will take any questions.
Can we have any media partners who are here who would like to have questions? Please come to the podium now.
George Hunter, Detroit News. First, what was the total cost for the operation? Offset what was being, that was the cost. Was there a cost for DPD and DPW and all that? In addition to what was donated, or was it all covered by donation?
No, I mean, obviously personnel costs. We're working on calculating all those out right now. But if you were to add the two numbers together, it's going to be close to $1 million.
Okay. And my second question is, could you speak a little bit? I know I went out there and interviewed those guys. They put their heart and soul into this. Speak a little bit more to that. It's got to be not always happy endings in your position, in your profession, huh?
No, there isn't. But I am in awe of the men and women. It's one thing to talk about doing something like taking on an endeavor such as this. It's another thing to see it, and they did it. They did the work. I was not out there this summer. I visited a few times, but they were in the pit that they created. And as the sergeant indicated, towards the end of the dig, for more efficiency, they got down in the pit and went through the debris. It's just something I've never seen. When you talk, and I don't want to, sensationalize it, but you saw the pictures and being there and looking down in the hole, and those who were in that pit will forever have a story to tell. But the ultimate goal was not to be a hero who did the dig. It was to be a hero to recover this child and bring her home to her mom. And unfortunately, that did not occur. But I'm confident that our investigators are going to do every possible thing that they can to ensure that what's needed for prosecution is in that investigative report, and hopefully charges will be administered against the person that we are confident is the suspect. But to your point, incredible work, and they, again, will be acknowledged at a later date individually and collectively because it is something that you don't see often, and I have never seen it in our department. It's the first time we've done anything like this. And all these folks volunteered, and we had to politely suggest Sergeant Jones go home a few times because she was just that committed. And she's not the only one. I mean, Lieutenant Cole and others, and I don't want to miss a name, so I'm going to start naming only the ones I remember. I'm going to name them all at the right time. But yes, they were all committed.
Hi, Chief. Veronica Meadows from Fox 2. Can you give us a little bit of a sense about where your investigation goes from here?
Yes, Commander, would you?
So we continue to follow up on information that we've received. The investigators meet with the prosecutors, they discuss the case, they discuss the evidence, and in those discussions, ideas come up about, hey, let's check this, hey, let's check that. And so we run that stuff down. Just like the dig itself, we run down every lead possible in order to give them as much information that that we possibly can so they can make their decision.
Ryan Marshall, News Radio 950. Obviously, Mr. Brazier was charged with lying to the police. With the fact that this dig was unsuccessful, is it possible that maybe this gentleman may have lied about what he did with Zion Foster's body?
Sorry. No, it's not. Because we were unsuccessful in this recovery does not take away from the evidence that supports that she is there. The operations at a landfill are such that we knew going into this that it was going to be very challenging. So we did what we could with the resources that we have. But there's so much information and evidence supporting that she is there. So no, to answer your question.
And then just a follow-up question. Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that he is still in custody, but on an unrelated charge. So there's a possibility that he may not stay in jail after December?
No, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as unrelated. It just was not a Detroit-led charge. It's a Macomb County charge. It does involve an aspect of this investigation. And he was convicted on that charge and is in the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections. His earliest release date is December of 2023.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, just also want to acknowledge the Detroit Fire Department, Commissioner Sims, who's in the back of the room, and their support and help with this project as well. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.